This is the Vision 79 podcast, where my friend Sander and myself, Mason, discuss recent developments in our business and our personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sander's is 40, mine is 39, and we have a shared vision for success in business and our personal lives. If you're new to the podcast, welcome in, and if you're a returning listener, welcome back. In either case, we hope you're able to take something constructive away from this. We have a long road ahead of us, and we still have lots to learn. Many successful people have started from the ground up, but very few of them have documented their process. We intend to be the first to document our journey from start to finish. So this is episode 6.
Yes, it is.
Week 9 or 10 of us doing it, so we're a couple months in now.
Yeah, I believe 9.
Yeah. I have the same updates as I did from last week, but that's not entirely true because this week I did more research into the business notes for us.
Oh, yeah.
I learned more about the different
Business
types
loan notes
of business loans. Yeah. I learned about private loans and business loans from a bank and then from private lenders, differences between all those. And I took notes on those and then the different types of loans you can get, equipment loan, different term loans, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I took notes on those things this week. I don't know if you've looked at them yet, but
I haven't looked at the business loan document since last week.
Yeah. I don't think it's a pressing thing, but it'll be handy in the next couple of months, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely useful.
Mm-hmm.
This week was a lot of CapCut for me. A lot of editing stuff and whatever. Got this podcast that's being released today, I guess, done, and all the shorts done for that, as well as the previous shorts and all the posts. So that was relatively time consuming, and some weird audio issues that were pretty frustrating. But all good and dandy. I think that at least there's a methodology to it now that I have to get through it. So it should be quicker in the future.
It's been kind of a slower week. It's been more of a grind week than a week that I would rather have. I think
I've been working more at home, but I've been busy with the podcast stuff.
Yeah. The CapCut stuff, it's important and it's progression, but when I do the same task over and over again, it feels monotonous and it feels like I'm not making progress. So even though I'm not doing any of the editing for this, the business loan notes and such, it kind of feels like it's continuous work without seeing any reward. And it's work that we're going to keep doing.
Right.
But it sucks. Yeah. It sucks to not have it feels like we're not progressing even though I know we are.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Another thing that we can mention too is that we looked at a car to flip for a little bit of extra dinero. We just did. Sweet.
Do you have an update on that? Because you had someone look at the 330 today.
Yeah, I do have some 330 update stuff, but we'll figure that out
and do it off there. Okay, cool. Sounds good.
So yeah, someone did look at the 330 this morning. Australian guy, very nice, very professional. Just Aussie here. He actually used to own an E90 M3 as well as a 335. So he's well versed in the cars. And it was funny. I told him that the driver's side cup holder was a little messed up. And he was like, yeah, they always break. So
that's funny.
He's clearly well versed in the car. I think, high mileage, but he appreciated the fact that it was maintained. And I sent him all of the documentation that I have via email. So hopefully he'll get back to me on that. He's honestly at a few cars. So
anyone looking to buy, if they find a seller like you who has like OCD, super anal autism level of like detailed analysis of every maintenance log done, like when we did the maintenance sheet for the 335, your Excel sheet, you just pulled over the same info from your existing one and it's thorough. So even though we don't own this car yet, when we do, it's immediately going to have added value from that data right away. And that goes a long way for buyers, I think.
And there's this really sweet binder that we can get to that I got for my personal stuff, and it's leather bound and it's like $10. It's super nice. So yeah, sweet. definitely some nice stuff that we can do to add value.
I think we'll see that money back from the binder.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then I got the Porsche running just maybe like half hour ago. Even it was very recent. So that was a cool little step. It was nice to see it sputter to life. Some couple odd end stuff to fix, fuel leak, and the tank's not in the car, so I'm running off a jerry can. And tons of weird light electrical issues, gremlins from probably sitting and rats and water intrusion in the passenger and driver side footwells, which is familiar with that. Car. Yep.
It
So
still hasn't rained yet, so I don't know where mine's leaking from.
that's true.
But I love not having a glove box. It's so freeing. It's
We can slap back in. It'll be like
fucking
10
hate
minutes.
it. Yeah, but then the next time it rains, I'm not going to be.
As soon as you put it in, you know it'll rain.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
yeah. I'll just leave it out.
Yeah.
Fuck it. But
And
generally
it'll never rain. You can leave it out for the whole of the car, and it will just never rain in Florida.
It'll be the first year in all of Florida history to not see a
Yeah.
drop of rain.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, the cars are good progress. And I suppose I could spin it and look at the 335 as it's a cool car that we get to drive for a little while and experience before making money. And then that money can go to support us after we quit and like need to survive.
Yeah.
So that's cool, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
That's progression. We can look at that as progression.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of potential going in different avenues. I'd say maybe not as much business progress this week, but still progress nonetheless in different avenues.
Yeah.
So I'm happy.
Supporting avenues.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Do you want to jump into your quotes first? I think I did last time first.
Yeah, I've got a couple quotes. A couple of them are business related, but also a couple of them are automotive related.
Cool.
The closing remarks are the same as last week, but the quotes are different. Did you look at my sheet? Did you read these before printing it?
No, I never read your
cool.
stuff before.
I have a quote, and I want to know if you can guess what it's talking about.
Sure.
The quote's a racing quote.
Okay.
And it's, there have been other tracks that separated the men from the boys. This is the track that will separate the brave from the weak after the boys are gone.
Jeez.
What track is this driver talking about? It's not one that
is it an older track that used to be raced on?
Can't say.
Okay, can't say.
It's currently raced.
It's currently raced.
Yep.
Okay. Taking me a while to think. I'm trying to think of.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was Nürburgring.
That's exactly what I was thinking, right?
Okay.
This is driver Jimmy Thompson speaking about the Daytona International Speedway.
Oh my God.
And I thought that was hilarious. Because I read the quote and I was like, oh my God, it's Hockenheim. It's Nürburgring.
Right. I thought like Monaco maybe. Like street circuit. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Or even like a newer track, like the new Jeddah Cornish circuit, like something that's high speed with the close walls that like makes your asshole pucker. But no, he's like the Daytona International Speedway. And I thought that was fucking hilarious because it's a great quote about
the Indianapolis Speedway or the Daytona Speedway.
Daytona International.
Oh, they talking about Daytona International. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, like fucking, and it's driver Jimmy Thompson. So I think that's NASCAR,
Dude,
and I think it's oval.
Foot to the floor the whole time.
What's hilarious to me is he's like, "Oh man, it separates the boys from the men." It's an oval. They're all the same. It's the same as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at Detroit. They're all fucking oval.
Kind of a 4.5 turn oval though, because past the finish line, you got a little bit of a bend. That can freak you out, Because if you're counting by corner, you suddenly don't know what lap you're on because you got that extra corner in there.
Every corner is left.
You can get confused.
Every corner is
very
left.
easy.
I thought that was hilarious. I thought you'd enjoy it.
I do love that.
That's my first quote.
I actually did a sim race with the PCA. There was one oval track that the PCA did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. It was actually fun, not from a driver's perspective at all, but it was fun from a tuning perspective because I looked into how iRacing models the bumpers in the cars that they put out, and they actually will model for deflection. Like if you rub up something on the ground, like a bump or something like that, it'll actually deflect the bumper. And it will mold the bumper, right? And so how they tune NASCAR stuff, or at least my primitive understanding, is that they set the car real low, and then they get the track to rub in the bumps. And so that, because it will rub in like a center, crest in the bottom of the bumper, it'll actually suck to the ground better.
Yeah.
So that's how they kind of mold the car to the track. And so that's what I was able to do with the Porsche that we were racing. Right. Is I dropped it way down, molded it, and then I had a different setup that I would then incorporate in. And so it was really fun. And I on an oval track, I was over a second quicker than second place. Yeah. Due to my tuning, which was wild. Yeah. I actually didn't end up winning the race because A, over racing is stupid, and B, the rules are stupid. Yeah. So, I actually didn't end up winning because someone got like a lucky dog rule where they got to like pit for free and keep their current position or something. And
dude, so dumb. Yes, I can't with it.
I can't with over racing.
The closest I've come to NASCAR and like knowing the rules, there are two things. Number one, that Danica Patrick video where they were like, was she any good? She's not. And the second one was a story about an iRacing newbie. He'd never sat in a sim rig before, but he loved to watch NASCAR. And his buddy put him in the sim, and then he started setting like world records. And they entered him in a race, and he won, but he lost on the technicality. But like everyone knows this kid now for some reason or another.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, any sport where a fucking like cold novice can sit down and dominate it is not one that I'm interested. I just can't. I don't fucking care.
Yeah. Daytona's foot to the floor the whole time. You don't even have to break in the NASCAR.
The track that separates the brave from the weak after the boys are gone. Anyways,
what a powerful quote.
What's your first bit? Is it a quote?
No, I got questions this week.
Okay, I got answers.
Cool. Well, there you go. So my first question is, what do you say when people say you're taking a lot of risk by quitting your 9-to-5 to start a business? And how do you mitigate the risk of quitting your 9-to-5 to start a business? And what do you say to those people that just say, hey, it's so risky to quit your 9-to-5. What are you doing? And do you even think that it's risky? And why?
Okay, what do I answer first? There's 10 questions.
It's a packed question.
Which one do you want?
I think I think we could start with how do you respond to people who say quitting your 9-to-5 is so risky to start your own business? Why are you doing that? How do you respond to that?
Risk is relative. Mm-hmm. I learned that from Kiyosaki, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and the other one. What's it called?
Fuck
the Poor. I don't know. It's risk is relative, right? So for me, stock market investing is super risky because I don't know anything and I have no control. But investing in the BMW we're about to buy makes a lot of sense. You know a lot about the car. I know a lot about selling cars. We both know a lot about the mechanics and how to sell a good car.
Yeah.
So it's not risky at all, right? If a layman, right, if our girlfriends were gonna go to buy this car, it would be a fucking crapshoot because you don't know anything about the car, anything about the market. You don't know if it's a good deal. You can probably find those things out. But once you find those things out, you mitigate the risk because you're increasing your knowledge about it.
Yeah.
So in quitting your 9-to-5, it's why are you quitting? If you have no plan and you're just like, I don't want to be here anymore, that's risky. But if you have a plan and you have a vision and the ball has started rolling, 10 out of 10, go for it.
Yep.
But what I say to people who say that it's risky, and the person is my mother, because every time we talk about it, she's like, are you crazy? Like, no, don't do it. Like, why? I don't understand. And she won't.
I have people at the bar come up to me and they're like, hey, like that seems so risky.
What's wrong with
you doing?
Yeah. With people who I've explained it to before, I've given up on. So like every time my mom asks, I just go, I don't know, maybe I won't. And I leave it at that because I don't want to explain it anymore. Yeah. But to the people who I have any amount of respect for or haven't explained it to yet, I'll tell them that risk is relative, and I'll explain how unhappy I am in the 9-to-5 and how much nicer life can be. And it takes an immense amount of work to get there, but it's work that we're willing to do.
Yeah. Yep. I hear that. For me, I respond by saying that risk is relative, A, and then B, it's really the kind of risk that's different for me, right? Because in the 9-to-5, you still have risk. Does your employer like you? Is your contract not going to run out? Like, is your position going to be still available? Is the project you're on going to morph into something you don't like, or is it going to stay the way it is? Like, there's so many risks that are completely out of your control, right? Mm-hmm. And you can do your best to be the best employee you can be and show up on time and blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, the risk in the 9-to-5 is completely out of your control. It's about you. How much your boss likes you. Is the contract working? Is stuff going to go well from the company side of things? Versus with your own business, if the market changes or your investors fall through or your business isn't prospering or you get a bad rap on social media and customers don't want to come, right? Those are all things within your control that you can change. You can go out there and try to find new investors. You can go try and reach different market. You can change your own business to meet a different customer base. Mm-hmm. But those are all things within your control. And those are the things that I can apply my knowledge and skill to, rather than in the 9-to-5, I can't apply my knowledge and skill to helping fix my job. Mm-hmm. Because staying at the 9-to-5, if I just worked the 9-to-5, I wouldn't have the skill set or understanding of how to go to a board and be like, hey, what are you doing with this project? Or, hey, like, can you not cut my team? Stuff like that, right? You don't have the skill set to be able to communicate that, right?
Right.
So as an employee, you're essentially just stuck at the mercy of your employer.
Right.
And that's what I find so much more risky. It's just about the type of risk that you're taking.
I could even take a step back from that further and say, what is risk? Risk is the likelihood of a problem occurring.
Yeah.
And then you have to define, well, what's a problem and how bad is that problem?
Yeah.
And the 9 to 5 has a 100% risk of a problem occurring, with the problem being I'll work for 40 years and then retire and pay myself out of my savings, give half of it to the government, and then hope I have enough to make it until I die. That is the largest problem I could ask for. And there's a 100% chance of it happening if you stay in the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So there's a short-term risk of, will I keep my job? Will I get the next paycheck? Job is an acronym, JOB, just over broke. But there's a long-term risk of, if I stay here, I know exactly where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
That is very scary. Very scary. I remember, I don't know if we mentioned this before, but I think we calculated out like how much money we'd have if we stayed at our 9 to 5s.
Dude, I paid a financial advisor $800 to tell me.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think we were sitting at the bar together and we asked ChatGPT, and it's like, if we got a 3% raise every year and a 10% raise every 10 years, and then using the 2022 tax bracket system, with taxes taken out, how much money would we have by the time we retire at 65? Yeah. And it was like 3.5 million, which is like
chump change.
You know, it's not that much money after 40 some odd years. That's crazy.
Honestly, if I got there, I'd probably say, all right, I'm going to pay myself $1 million a year and then I'll kill myself when I run out. But that's not that doesn't leave anything behind, right? Right? When you kill yourself, you don't hurt yourself, you hurt the people around you. So I don't want to kill myself at 65, right? So, yeah. But you get the point.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Do you want a racing quote or a motivational quote?
I like the racing quote.
Okay, I've got another one.
Funny.
This one is directly related to the sim racing, which I'm happy we did on Friday.
Yeah, I think we should do that regularly. I really enjoy that.
I would absolutely love to.
Yeah.
We mentioned it 2 weeks ago, and then I forgot about it. So when you asked if I wanted to come over again, I was like, oh, yeah.
I think we did do it 2 weeks in a row.
No, we did. But what I'm saying is, like, I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was great. And it'd be even fun to do, like, supplemental content on here about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you guys would like to see that, if there are some viewers out there, you can drop a comment in the bottom of the YouTube or the Spotify if you'd like to see some sim racing coaching stuff, or just watching the rig, maybe a Twitch stream, something like that. Drop a comment.
Yeah, both you guys, Mason and Sander, in 3 days. It's right. I saw the Spotify analytics. We're the only ones. No, but seriously, like, when we come back and look at these later, it's episode 6. Spotify says we've had 1 listener, and I know it's me every Monday morning. So when we come back, this is ground zero.
I know there's more people listening, though. Like, I know there are.
I know there are on TikTok. So this bit will go to TikTok, and they'll see it. We'll put that on there for sure. So this is the quote. It's amazing how many drivers, even at the Formula 1 level, think that the brakes are for slowing the car down. And that's a Mario Andretti quote. And the reason I really loved that is because what I learned, not last week, but the session before, was how brake bias affects the weight distribution of the car through the corner.
Yeah.
And what I really broke it down in my head to was the brakes aren't really about picking the speed through the corner, and it's not really about slowing down before the corner. Really, what the brakes are used to do is pitch the car forward, and what the gas is used for is pitching the car back.
Yeah.
And you use both of those to get through a corner and roll the body weight around the way you want to. Now, obviously, if you go too fast through a corner, it's a problem. So the brakes are used to get the car to that speed. But really what it's about, and how I think about it more effectively, is how do I get the body roll where I need it to give the proper tires the proper grip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was super cool.
What I really like about the 911 GT3 that we drove yesterday is that, or 2 days ago, is that it really teaches you how to use the brakes to get that car to rotate.
Yep.
Because it's a rear weight bias, and you actually run rear brake bias on that car too. So you really have to be able to ride the line and get the back end to rotate around on you and then get back on the power. Because even if you just try to coast to the corner, the car will push. It doesn't want to turn. Right. And so that car really teaches you how to use the brakes for more than just slowing down, which is what I really enjoy about driving it.
Right. Yeah.
And I did some more sessions actually after you left. I didn't improve my time, but I got more consistent on it. It was very fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And that was a big takeaway, because until then, like, I had thought to myself, I read the karting books about how, you lean to the inside or the outside, depending on where you want the grip to be on your outside tires. When you go through a chicane, it's a problem because you're transferring the grip from the left to the right to the left again, and that's an issue.
Yeah.
But this quote just really, really evenly rounds it out. And it's interesting because it's true. A lot of people don't think that way unless you've had experience with racing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I got one here for you. What do you think are the 3 most important qualities in a business partner? And is it important to have a business partner? Do you think that there are people who work better without one? Do you think that given certain circumstances, it might be better to work alone? And then if you're working with a business partner, what do you look for in them?
having a business partner, I think, is hugely important.
Yeah.
Because many people aren't strong enough to make it on their own. Even if you are, I think it's hugely beneficial psychologically to have someone who has your back. I grew up in a team sport environment, so I'm used to having people to lean on and then help through.
Yeah.
So having that, buddy has my back aspect is great. Having someone to throw ideas at is awesome. They'll shoot down your bad ones. They're a free filter. And likewise, they'll bring new ideas to the table, which is cool. I think that the top 3 qualities are really interesting. It's an interesting question because there are so many that you can look for and so many conflicting ones. So 2 of them I'm thinking right now are agreeableness, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a stubborn partner, they'll never see your side and they'll never come around. You'll never get your way and it's not really your business. But at the same time, I want a stubborn partner who will put their foot down for something that they think is really the way to go. But if they put their foot down all the time or if they roll over all the time, it's not a balance. So
maybe someone that's good at picking their battles.
Right. Someone who's well-rounded.
Mm-hmm. I think someone who's hardworking is very important. Yep. Someone has a really good work ethic.
Yeah. Morals are important.
Yep.
Right aspects. I find the further we get into business, it's trickier and trickier to find what the right thing to do is versus the smart thing because they're not always the same.
Yeah.
And that's a fine line that I think a lot of people get lost in politics because as you move into politics, your partners are fucking like moral pits. Like they don't have a soul anymore and they'll do whatever they think is smart, regardless of if it's right. And I'd like to be a moral business person. So sometimes the hard decision isn't the right decision, but it's the smart decision.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the inverse. And finding somebody who can be a balance to that is really great.
Yeah, it's like it's similar to the preservatives that we use in Kahuna Cravings. Mm-hmm. We make Kratom baked goods, but we could use a much cheaper synthetically generated preservative. Mm-hmm. And it's, not as good for people versus we can use a different preservative, which is what we use. Uh-huh. And it's better for you and it's naturally forming. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you can either improve your margins and give something to people that's not really that great for them, mm-hmm. or you can spend a little bit more and still have good margins and give a product that you feel better about.
Yeah.
Similar to that.
Yeah. That's hugely important to me, I think, especially as you scale and start to get to larger scale numbers. Mm-hmm. It really, a huge misconception that people have, especially about Amazon, is that Jeff Bezos doesn't give a fuck about people. And he doesn't care about his customers. All he cares about are numbers. And I know how easy it is as a poor person to see that, right?
Yeah.
I'm broke right now. I'm not poor. I'm broke. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. That's a good quote for next week, actually. Mm-hmm. I'll bring that up next week. But as a broke person looking at that, I can understand. I'm just a number, right? I can understand that I'm just a number. I'm a customer and I'm buying it. It's in my shopping cart right now. I get it. But I don't want to have my customers feel that way. No matter what the scale is, I want the customers to feel like I'm helping them and doing something that will benefit them. And Absolutely. They're not, even if you are just a number because there's hundreds of millions of customers, I still want you to feel like I have your best interest in mind. And that's something that gets hazy super fast when it blows up like that. Like, finding the margin and cutting costs to make as much profit as possible. I would so much rather have a business that operates morally and has a good word that operates at 80% capacity compared to a business that maximizes every dollar and has a bad rap, because ultimately that reputation is going to kill you and you're not really helping people.
I was just going to say, ultimately, having that bad rap and trying to squeeze every dollar of it will probably lead to being less successful in the end anyway.
Right, because people smell bullshit a mile away.
Yeah.
So if you're feeding them bullshit and they're eating it, they'll realize it and eventually you won't make it, right? And maybe you make a shitload of money before you don't make it and, you buy your private island and then you'd fuck teenage girls the rest of your life. But I don't want to be that person, right?
Yeah.
And that's important to me, I think, to having a business partner. especially as we scale.
I think my last one would be.
Wait, stop. I've got. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. I thought you were going into your last quote.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, the last quality.
Yeah.
Someone who's passionate.
Yeah.
I think that on top of hardworking and on top of moral, someone who really has passion and that is able to grab onto an idea and run with it and be excited about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to be hardworking and grind through something, and it's another thing to love the work.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's really important.
I think to embellish on that, I would say somebody who has a similar passion to you.
Yeah.
Because you could both drive really hard towards success, but if you're two horses in the same chariot running different directions, it's not effective, right? If we have a shared vision, it's on the mug and the shirt. Oh, look at you matching today. Maybe we'll throw merch out eventually. But if you have a shared vision, I think that it's much more potent because then you're both working long hours and grinding and passionate about the same thing. You're running in the same direction.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
So I've got my last quote here. I have two, but one of them is actually this quote. I forgot that I had it written down, but I spoke about it earlier in the podcast about how shitty this week has been in not actually seeing business progress and not seeing large steps, but we're fucking sucking it up and doing it anyways. The quote is from Alex Hormozi. It's you can beat 99% of people simply by continuing to work without needing immediate reward.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing.
Absolutely. Actually, that just reminded me of when we did the drop shipping Shopify stuff back in the summer, where it was like a lot of it was like just grind and it felt monotonous, or we ran into challenges that we didn't understand. And we turned to each other and we were like, this is when 99% of people quit.
Yeah.
Like, this is the step, you know.
Step 3. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was after 3 days of work, I think, and we were like,
3 days of like 12 hours a day though. So
yeah, but that's 3 days. Hormozi measures in hundreds of hours, and I'd like to start doing the same thing. So like barely 100 hours in, if that.
All right.
We were like, this is where everyone gives up. And if everyone's going to give up before the first set of 100 hours, run right through them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This last one that I got, I think would be better for next week.
Oh, really?
Just because it's a little bit longer and it's on a different topic.
Okay.
So if you want to finish this off with your last quote.
It's far better to have understood why you failed than to be ignorant of why you succeeded. It's Alex Hormozi. And that's valuable.
Yeah.
That's
I
valuable.
agree with that for sure.
I heard a story the other day about a guy who won the $2 billion Powerball 2 years ago. Fucking, he's got a huge fleet of supercars. He's got $400 million mansions. He is burning a hole in his pocket, right?
God.
Now, some other dude is stepping forward and suing him, saying he stole the lottery ticket off him. He got mugged and he stole the lottery ticket. And I'm like, oh my God, that guy's got to be sweating his balls off right now.
I bet he can buy some pretty good lawyers, though.
Probably. But he is ignorant to why he succeeded because he just bought a lottery ticket. He got handed a stack of cash and was like, go have fun. He doesn't understand how he earned it. And if you don't understand how you earned it, you can't do it again. It'd be better for him to step back and realize, okay, I was handed all of this money. I need to understand how to make more money out of it and learn to build a business. And that's a good lesson. You learn more from your failures than you do your successes.
Ununderstood, your not understood successes.
Yeah. Your wins? I don't fucking know. Whatever.
You understand more from understanding your failures rather than not understanding your success.
Yeah. Exactly.
I saw a cool, well, not really cool, but it was a TikTok the other day. This guy won the lottery, not much. It was, well, I mean, I guess a good amount. It was like 100K or something like that.
Changes lives.
Yeah, and it did change his life. And he bought
a Ferrari.
That's exactly what he bought. A big diesel truck, a trailer, and a Can-Am 4-wheeler, and put a down payment on a house. And then 3 years later, he was working the same job he was before he won the lottery. And he was talking about how you really have to be smart with your money because more money doesn't just solve your problems. You got to know how to understand it. You got to be able to manage it, and you have to know where to.
He said that.
Yeah,
he said that?
Yeah.
He understood why he failed.
Yeah,
because he was ignorant prior to how he succeeded.
Right, and so I learned now he'll be able to actually make some progress in his life.
Right,
because now he understands why financially he is where he is and how he needs to manage his life in order to get to a better place.
Yeah.
So I think now I have hope for him. You know, but it's obviously sad that he had to learn that lesson the really hard way.
Yeah, I think it's better.
It's more meaningful.
Pardon me.
It's more impactful. That's for sure.
It's better to learn a lesson the hard way than to never learn it at all.
Yeah.
God, I'm burping like crazy. I drank all that entire Celsius in 15
Jeez.
minutes. We got to figure out a way to make these podcasts longer because 30 minutes is not enough time. I got so much to say. I'd love to do like a 2-hour podcast. That'd be fucking awesome.
We could do a special, something like that.
Yeah, we could. We just need someone to edit it for us.
Yeah.
Go check out the Spotify. If you're seeing this on TikTok right now, I promise you, Sandra and I do a phenomenal job of packing a lot of value in a short amount of time. We make 30-minute podcasts. Listen to it on your drive to work. Listen to it at your desk at work. The whole point of this podcast is to inspire you to get out of your job. So listen to this at your job as a first step. Go check out the Spotify.
Absolutely. Spotify and YouTube. You can go there and take a listen. It's well worth your time. You can listen on your drive to work. You can listen while you're bored at work even. Or just something to pick you up and get you going and make you feel motivated and inspired. That's our goal. And, we're documenting our lives and our progress in that process, but really it's for you guys too.
Yeah. That's a great way to close it out.
Yeah. There we are.
Thanks for listening.